What's up, everyone? Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com, brought to you courtesy of Muscle Gels, topical muscle enhancement gel available at musclegels.com. So today I want to talk about Silvio Samuel. He's back out of prison and did a fantastic training video / interview with Dave Burleigh of Digital Muscle Media. Now, we all know that Sean Ray of Muscular Development has gone on record as saying he will not interview Silvio Samuel or have anything to do with him. The question I have for you is, should we as a community forgive Silvio for his past transgressions? That's question number one. Question number two, are we in any kind of a shape to judge other people? Is question number two. Question number three isn't really a question, but an observation from the video where Silvio says he was exonerated and it has been proven that he did nothing wrong. I don't know if that's true or not. That might be his spin on things. Certainly something to look into. In terms of the actual quality, I have to agree with Dave Burleigh in that Silvio doesn't look any different than he did when he left the scene. What's interesting too is what is the future of this very, very dangerous bodybuilder. I mean, let's not forget, this guy was winning everything in sight. Very aesthetic, a giant killer without any doubt, being compared to the likes of Danny Padilla and even Lee Priest, and some people, not a lot of people, but some people said even a comparison to Sean Ray, a Hall of Fame bodybuilder. Now, the question is, what kind of a future does Silvio have? Will he be sponsored by any big companies? Will people want to work with him? Obviously, getting this great video on Dan Solomon's Digital Muscle is definitely the way to start. And in the video, he is being prepped by, Charles Glass, who is, we know bodybuilding royalty. And there's a cameo appearance by the Black Prince himself, Mr. Robbie Robinson, who basically, came in to assess the physique. So, it's an interesting situation, honestly, because, we don't really know what to do with Silvio. In fact, I don't know what the consensus will be at Muscular Development. I will share this video at the MD Noble forums and hopefully garner some kind of an idea what the folks have to say there. And I will certainly cover, the fact that Digital Muscle did sort of break ground by giving him some exposure over at the Mecca Gold's Gym Venice Beach. But again, I don't know what to expect from Silvio, and it's really kind of freaky how similar he looks to the past. Now, we talked a lot about God and really talked about a lot about how people that really know him and the real him would have known that he would never have committed. I think, quite frankly, if I was to advise Silvio, not that he's asked for my opinion, but if I was to advise Silvio, I would tell him to sort of not talk about the conviction or the incarceration or the whole trial, because God forbid that he's not being 100% transparent, or even God forbid worse, that he's not actually being accurate. Now, I'm not saying that, he was not being forthright, or I'm not saying that his information wasn't valid. I'm just saying I would be careful, because in this day and age, if you're going to come out and say, well, they were totally wrong about me and I was released because I was innocent, and those of you that really know me know I didn't do anything, and I'm, a man of God, and the men of God don't act that way. All it really takes is a very simple search. And you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be an officer of the court. This is public record. So God forbid to be caught in a lie, if in fact it is a lie or an inaccuracy. I wouldn't talk about any of that, if I was him and I want to get back into the fold. In terms of him on stage, we don't know. Again, a lot of people can look good in the gym. They can look good in a training video. They can look good, especially when there's a sort of a nostalgia effect. Because let's be real, like I said at the beginning of the video, Silvio had a very, very impressive pro career. And, he does look very similar. But there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks. I'm pretty sure that his pro card is going to be okay. I don't know if he violated any rules by going to prison. I can't imagine that he did. But who knows? So, assuming that his pro card isn't, is not, you know, held in suspension or anything like that, and assuming that he looks anything like he did before he went away, he could be very, very dangerous. I don't particularly remember his stage weight. I want to think he could do the 212, but he might be too big for that. So he might be like on the smaller side of the open. I'm not sure. But definitely someone to look out for. And it'll be interesting to see, I think, it'll be interesting to see if other major outlets, I'm not talking about, you know, like smaller websites or even like RX Muscle or, you know, like a little bit of a, you know, drop down. Not a big drop, but I mean, we're talking Digital Muscle here, which, again, in my humble opinion, Digital Muscle is going to be the next bodybuilding.com. So when I'm talking about major, you know, sort of websites in bodybuilding, I'm talking Digital Muscle, Flex Online, Muscular Development, MPC News Online, possibly Evolution of Bodybuilding, which is really stepping it up. I mean, Evolution of Bodybuilding, Rising Muscle, these websites are really stepping it up. You know, your RX Muscles, your, no offense, and I know he's going to be offended when I say this, but your Muscle Sport Mags, and it's not because they're not, you know, good broadcasters or have good advertising. It's none of that. In fact, we share Iron Mag Labs. It's just contest coverage. To me, I'm old school. I'm old school. So I invest a lot of my sort of rating on contest coverage, or, you know, releasing articles that deal with studies and that deal with, you know, people like that are really established in the industry. You know, people like Ruth Silverman, or having people like Dave Burley, you know, involved in the process. RX Muscle has Johnny Styles and Sadiq Faruqi, and they're really, in my opinion, the ones that are really sort of driving the website. Dave Palumbo is sort of, in my opinion, faded. I mean, come on, the guy's getting his news stories from Nick Strength and Bodybuilding YouTubers. I mean, come on. I mean, the guy's off his rocker. You know, I mean, he's not. I mean, the old Dave Palumbo, you know, would never have had to, you know, retract himself. Like, I mean, look like a complete buffoon. You know what I mean? But the reality of the matter is, if you were to take Sadiq and Johnny Styles out of the equation, I mean, RX Muscle would. There really wouldn't be much home, you know, to write home about. And Muscle Sport Mag, I mean, they lost Greg Valentino. It sounds like he's going to come back. If he comes back, between Greg and Comerica Muscle, they're going to have something, you know, pretty decent there. Nothing against Joe Pietaro, but who is Joe Pietaro? I mean, a former police officer with what? I mean, like, what's the? Did he compete or what? I mean, you know, now StrengthAddicts.com isn't even in the zip code. I mean, StrengthAddicts.com is like tiny. You know what I mean? But I do happen to cover a lot of shows. I do a lot of press. I've got my show on MD. I do have the sponsorship of Iron Mag Labs and their support. And I do have, I'd like to think, a good position in the MPC, given that I'm a one-man operation. But I'm not a competitor. You know what I mean? I'm a lawyer that has, you know, a penchant for covering bodybuilding. You know what I mean? But I mean, so I would never even put myself in that category. But it would be interesting to see if a Flex magazine or a Muscular Development or an MPC News Online, you know, gave Silvio Samuel the time of day. If, say, J.M. Mannion or Amir Morandi or, you know, your Dan Rays, your really, really high-end, top-of-the-line photographers, or, you know, if, Frank Sepp or something like that, you know, did like some sort of a piece on him or something like that. Or if it would I mean, I think the fact that he's been on Digital Muscle, see the thing is, Digital Muscle, much like Dan Solomon and everything Dan Solomon's always been about, what, first radio show, you know, live cast of the Arnold Classic, you know, creating a hub as opposed to yet another website, you know, having at one point, you know, Ruth Silverman and John Hansen, now Dave Burley, potentially four-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler. Dan is the kind of guy who will break ground. He's the kind of guy that will and has and, you know, and historically been a pioneer. You know what I mean? So again, Silvio couldn't have asked for a better way to break back into the scene than to be featured on Digital Muscle, and especially to have someone the likes of Dave Burley conducting the interview and leading the whole production, pre-production, and publishing operation. Because again, if it had been contracted out to someone, you know, of less stature, or contracted out to a no-name or something like that, and then just slapped on the digital muscle. But this was at the Mecca with Charles Glass, cameo by Robbie Robinson, carried out, produced, published by Dave Brule, and with the digital muscle name on top, and just blasted all over their official website and social media feeds. This sends a very, very strong message to the fitness industry that Silvio Samuel is back.